I've preached before that consistency is more important than personal feelings, and chapter is a perfect case of when, that proves against myself, because I had my own theory on what Laxus's new skill was going to be. I was hoping for something like combining fairy law into his dragon lightning and having some like cool radiant kind of like lightning or something, maybe true dragon force. But as it were, the thing that I wanted to kind of forget about was Laxus's red lightning back in the Alvarez arc that used against Wall. Now there is a statement here I think that kind of does mends for a little bit of retroactive damage, because that fight always bothered me. There's a bunch of controversial parts, I'd say in the second half of the Alvarez arc. I don't think I agree with any of those. I think the big moment within the arc that really stunk for me personally was the whole red lightning bit. But because I always wanted to be like, well, what was going to be the explanation? Like, maybe if Laxus beforehand was, dipping into hemomancy, blood manipulation, maybe just blood magic for the sake of trying to cure the demon particles that he ended up inhaling during the encounter with Torfuser. Or, no, sorry, not Torfuser, Tempesta, got it mixed up. But, from that, it was kind of just happened. It kind of just happened. And that was the thing that always kind of bothered me, was that there was no real explanation about it. It was just this Mercury fulminant red lightning, and I always just was sure that Hiromashima really wanted to do another Breaking Bad reference. I know he had, that guy who ran the gelato stand back on Caracal Island. He essentially just looked like Walter White. I think that was what he was going for, pretty clean cut. But now I didn't really find another reason other than for the red lightning. I got kind of the idea behind it, but there was no real explanation in the series for it to really happen. But Laxus, in this chapter, reveals it was all by chance. He just was lucky, and that's not like a sure fix on it, but it's better than he just had this power up and he just got it and used it and he never mentioned it or anything. It's like, okay, if it was pure chance, it's, this integrating blood into his lightning, making, the red lightning better. Makes, in my opinion, that scene a lot better. And it eases up my biggest frustration about that whole arc, to be perfectly honest, by a whole lot. And honestly, raises the Alvarez arc, in my opinion, a good chunk on my take. I like the arc overall, but that was one of those things that really bugged me. Plus, Wall was probably my favorite member of the Spriggan 12, and I knew he was gonna lose, but like losing that way, it always just kind of stuck in my craw. But now, as I've said, consistency is more important than personal feelings, and there's now a consistency to the red lightning. Laxus, got it. It was useful, and he trained on it, seemingly, I would assume, during the, year between the Alvarez arc and the start of 100 Years Quest, to actually be able to use the ability at will. And I was always kind of wondering, like, if it was going to get forgotten about, something like Gray's Ice Make Unlimited. And I know Ice Make Unlimited it's literally just Gray making a lot of different Ice Make weapons very fast. It's just a big speed technique, for mass of weapons. I always hoped he'd have a couple more, but, obviously he got Demon Slaying, and he could easily have Ice Make Unlimited again. Like I said, it's literally just, hey, what if I took, whatever technique I was doing, did it a lot and fast? I mean, he could do that with, he could have Ice Make, or what would it be? It would be Ice Demon, it'd be Ice Demon Longsword Zeroth Unlimited, and he just does it multiple times. I mean, you could pretty much just do that and it'd be fine. But Laxus says, he's pretty much gained this ability. He can use it at will. It's a mode for him. I really like the idea of, the second gen Dragon Slayers becoming these weird renditions of their own elements. And Cobra ended up instead devising more sound magic. Instead, maybe he could have evolved, instead of just poison, toxic, or venom or something. But whatever. Here's Laxus now with red lightning. And I think that weird kind of like branching out while still being lightning is a cool thing to do with second gen, because second gen always felt like kind of just got screwed over, because their thing was, at least at the time, they had Dragon Force, but their Dragon Force is a very minuscule boost compared to even artificial Dragon Force. But, you know, you had third gen, and they not only got that, you know, they got that Lacrima-based Dragon Force, but they also had the drive modes, and fourth generation Dragon Slayers. I mean, the Quantum Knights, or how's it pronounced? Quartum Knights. I mean, we don't really know much about fourth gen. I mean, the only other time I could really see a Dragon Slayer being a fourth gen, you know, is you're getting it in some form of artificial kind of thing, while not being implanted, just kind of like a temporary, or like a tool, kind of like Erza while she's using her swords. But fifth gen, still a mystery. The only kind of special thing we know about them so far is they straight eat dragon flesh, and they aren't affected by motion sickness. Now, the question was going to be, what is Erza going to have to go about this? Because Laxus was already, you know, flexing on her before, and now he's busting out Red Lightning, which is, you know, he's way more powerful than active, which they give an explanation to, which I really like. And that was one of the things also that really made me enjoy this form more, because I think it added not only to the idea that I was talking about, just, you know, diverting outside of the kind of normal elemental status that is, you know, most Dragon Slayers. I mean, we're getting all these weird elements now, but I like that Laxus is some kind of like offset dragon. And, you know, it'd be like if Natsu had, you know, any of those other weird versions of fire as a mode, like remember, you know, the blue fire that was cold that Totomaru had. But we knew Erza was going to have more, because the thing that she, you know, gained over the course of the year time skip is she's able to integrate stuff into her sword, because she used to only be able to wield Yodo Benizakura when she was in her, you know, her whole cloth fire pants armless armor, because it took so much power to use. And now she can integrate other armors into it, you know, like when she had her Fire Empress armor, you know, and then, you know, she's able to make it to a fire sword. I imagine she could do that with any of her elemental weapons. But on top of that, she's also got enchants that Wendy, you don't put upon her, that she's able to seemingly activate at will. I'm wondering if they're kind of like little, kind of like, you know, if you played some games like a spell scroll or something, or some item that's got a one use. Like, after she's done using this, is she able to do it again? Or is there a certain number of uses? Is there a time limit? Does she just have to be in the vicinity of Wendy? And from that, it's okay, not only having two swords, not only two elements, but it's not like, oh yeah, she's using Fire Empress armor, and like if she had an Ice Empress armor. I don't think we've seen that. I know we've seen water, fire, lightning off the top of my head. I that's the only ones I could think of. I know she's got like a wind sword. I can't think if there's any other just straight plain just elemental armors that Erza has, just top to top. I have to go look. But she's able to have two different Slayer attributes, and I think that's really neat, because not only does it have something cool for Erza additionally, because she's going to be adding dragon damage and demon damage on top of it. You have Natsu's fire and its level of potency versus Gray's chill. Like, I was done the math. Like, the fact that Gray was able to, like, straight freeze air just, like, by the base cold, not including something like, if he pulls out the true ice that he copied from Invul, but just the cold temperature they had from back in the Tartarus arc when he froze those tornadoes. I think the temperature he would need is, like, negative 270 degrees Fahrenheit or something. I think, what's that, like, I think, like, 45 degrees short of absolute zero, some ridiculous temperatures. And then obviously Natsu's fire, you know, his body heat alone can melt metal, not including the flames added onto it. So, lots of damage on top of potency of both elements. One thing that salted me, there was no blue crimson reference. I mean, you have a fire sword and ice sword, and this is a Hiramashima manga, you gotta have a reference to blue crimson. And here's Laxus, you know, he's going around with, you know, his red lightning buffed on him. I thought it was kind of, the only thing I actually kind of thought was weird is because Erza has that kind of like similar color to her sword when she's got like the dragon Belsarian boost on it. And I'm willing to bet if we saw it in color, like Laxus's red lightning and then like the dragon slayer energy around Erza's sword would be the same color. I don't know. It was just kind of like a thing to note, but like she couldn't even really make physical contact with Laxus, because even anytime she like her skin, her body touched anywhere on him, she would get electrocuted. So Laxus has that just constant electrical charge in him, and no matter what she was doing, it was not slowing him down, and he seemed to just be getting stronger. And that was made kind of apparent why after he got like a slash from the fire sword and ice sword at the same time. Also like that Kiri was watching and just kind of like, these guys are in the same guild. Like, unfortunately for Diablos, they don't know about the Fairy Tail Guild, and, you know, they've got a lot of monsters in it. I mean, in terms right now still of groups in the series, if you took away all the added members that were, you know, aiding Fairy Tail in the Alvarez, where you just took them, the guild, and put them against, you know, every other group, I still would definitely put the Spriggan and the Alvarez Empire, not even including the, you know, million plus soldiers and other stuff, just Spriggan 12 and obviously Zareth. But out of guilds, obviously the Fairy Tail is going to be, you know, standing on top. Granted, we don't know all the members of Diablos yet, but, you know, this many kind of like monstrous people in one guild is going to be tough for them. And I'm still expecting it to turn out that Diablos isn't an evil guild. They're just, you know, not friendly to people that get in their way. I'd be willing to, you know, put my guess that they're actually kind of more leaned towards good. It's just all a misunderstanding. I just have that feeling because I'm still very suspicious of Eleftheria. But as it were, when Erza has both these swords out, she goes in, she gets a slash on Laxus. And what was funny to me is out of the 3 Mishima chapters that came out this week, today rather, you had Heroes, where, you know, a little bit of spoilers, skip like 15 seconds if you haven't somehow read the other 2 chapters, but Heroes, they ended up defeating Genesis, Eden Zero, Wise ended up beating Laguna, and it looked like Laxus was going to be defeated too. It's like, well, they defeated all their opponents in the same kind of week, but even though Erza got the slash on, it only ended up powering up Laxus, and that's where the explanation of where, like, Red Lightning gives him a boost. Like, he seems to have, like, a boost in general, but the thing that I actually really liked about the ability is the idea behind it, because what's different about Laxus to the other Dragon Slayers? Laxus is just this giant brute. In comparison to all the other, like, Dragon Slayers, I guess you could kind of count, you know, Georg. You know, we haven't really seen anything from him yet, but he looks like a big dude. But just, like, go back and look at the fight against Acnologia. All the other Dragon Slayers were small compared to Laxus. And this Red Lightning Dragon mode turns Laxus, you know, his size and the overall mass of him into his own kind of version. And I like that. He's essentially a Berserker, because the way that the Red Lightning works is it's powered by blood, obviously combined with his lightning. So the more he bleeds, the more, you know, potent and powerful the Red Lightning gets, meaning the more powerful, the more faster he becomes. He's a Berserker. He's taking damage and he's using that to buff himself up. It's a double-edged sword, which I thought was really neat about Laxus. And I think it adds to him as well, because he's willing to take that damage to, you know, to power himself up in fights. He's not afraid of getting hit. He's not, you know, it's a style of not, like, kind of running away. It's straight taking things head on, which is essentially what Laxus has, you know, kind of been like since he came back in Sirius Island. He's been somebody who faced a lot of his problems head on, and I think his power not only complements, like, his aspect about who he is now, but also just, you know, I think it gives him an extra level of identity to his, you know, his character. Like, not just like, oh, you know, it's got all this backstory behind it, you know, all these things about who he is, but just, it says something about, you know, even a differentiating point between his dragon style. I really like that. I think that whole Berserker Dragon Slayer is really neat. Like, dragon slaying magic in general is, I mean, and it's definitely one of the best magics in the series. Like, Slayer magic is just, like, super top-notch. You know, out of all the magics, just out of singular, not, you just get to pick one, Slayer magic would obviously be the one you'd want. Regardless of Dragon Slayer, Demon Slayer, God Slayer, it just, you know, you're a Slayer mage, you've got good stuff in your fortune. I mean, unless you're a God Slayer that picks fights with people far beyond your capabilities, don't let that God title go to your head. But, as it were, now Laxus has an additional thing to it. I just think that alone is a really cool concept, because I mean, what else was it there really to? Was he fast? I mean, like, when you look at like the other Dragon Slayers, Natsu, even though Dragon Slayers are very battle mage oriented, they're very take damage, get hit, very durable, very high stamina. Like, Natsu was like, you know, he's the poster child for it. That's his big thing. And you got Wendy with her enchants. Gajeel is way more durable, and his element actually creates straight physical matter. You know, you got Rogue, who can turn intangible. You know, you got Sting, who's got, like, you know, his weird lock aspect to it. You know, you can lock people's bodies, but there's also the holy aspect on top of it. And you know, you look at each of the Dragon Slayers, and there was, I mean, the closest you could really get out of Laxus and Lightning Dragon, it's fast. It has a paralysis effect, but really, when you compare it to, like, what a lot of the others were getting, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot. And I, like, it's like, well, what about with Cobra? Well, Cobra diverted into having also sound magic on top of his dragon slaying magic. He needs to get sound dragon slaying magic. That needs to be a thing. And then combine it, poison sound. Actually, that sounds kind of cool. But Laxus now having this Berserker dragon status, I think, is just really a really nice addition to his identity. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of, you know, what characters are we going to pull out. Like, I expect a lot of characters to have at least one additional big thing. Like, really, like, when you look at this, like, we haven't seen a new form for Mira, but we saw multiple new forms from Lisana. We saw a new form from Elfman. I'm fully willing to, like, bet, like, a new true heavenly body magic from Jalal. It's gonna be really fun, and I really like that aspect about the about this whole fighting festival. And we're seeing a lot of new stuff from different characters. And even though, like, Gajo, we didn't really get to see anything new from him in terms of a power, at least at the moment, we got to see he's way smarter about how he fights. He would, like, back when he fought Natsu, he was using his superior durability against Natsu. He was using that extra hardness in order to, you know, use the enemy's force against them. I thought that was really, you know, a nice little growth on top of it. And all these characters getting step forwards in their growth, you know, and just their display of who they are and aspects of their magic. And even though the Alvarez War ended, they're still moving forward. They're still progressing. They're still pushing themselves. And, you know, they don't want to fall behind. So, all around, really nice. I mean, we still haven't seen, like, a new thing from Gray. And even if Natsu hasn't have some fancy new mode, doubt he does. You know, he's getting one when he eventually masters the Aetherius Dragon Force, you know, that he used against, got powered up to use against Mercephobia. I'm still hoping that we get, like, a partially Demon Gray with, like, a frozen horn or something. I mean, Wendy got Lucy got Stardress Mix, and Wendy's got all these nice new fancy enchants. Come on, I'm hoping for Gray. We haven't got that Gray turnaround yet. Gray lost once to Scullion, and as Gray does a lot, he always comes up and, you know, he wins the second time against, you know, a lot of opponents. But anyway, I've been rambling too much, almost at 20 minutes. So, other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about the Red Lightning. Like I said, I like the consistency, I like the explanation, I like the aspect that it was given, that it was just chance that Laxus got it during the Alvarez War, and I like the progress that it's moving in addition for him. So, there's that. Anyway, yeah, comment below, thumbs up the video, prefer the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.